Good evening, and welcome to the Oz and Mini podcast, episode 22. And today we'll be talking about our childhood television memories from when we were younger and watching television in at home after school. You'd come home and watch children's television, or maybe watch other stuff from prime time. And joining us this week, we have, of course, our lovely co-host.
Yes, myself, Minnie, I'm here.
And we are joined by the sole guest of Neo.
Riri XD. I've been here too long. I've been waiting in this server to talk about my memories of Tom and Jerry and endless VHS tapings of it.
Can't wait.
Oh yes, Tom and Jerry, the classic. I mean, we might as well start with Tom and Jerry,
Yes.
the classic. Short form, violent cartoons.
I'm not being funny, but it's less violent than Itchy and Scratchy, at least. So
I
you don't have
mean,
to worry about that.
Itchy and Scratchy is the overtone, the overtone version of Tom and Jerry. But yes, I remember watching Tom and Jerry from. I don't even remember what channel they were on.
Boomerang.
They're on Boomerang.
Boomerang. That sounds
Channel
so
6.
bad.
Channel 607. That's how much I watched it.
Sorry, Boomerang. Just Boomerang.
Wow.
Oh wow.
I mean, to be fair, the Boomerang
Nice
is shaped
pun.
like a old phone, modernized by the 80s or something like by the 90s actually.
Exactly.
But yes, Tom and Jerry. I remember none of it, but I also remember watching it at the same time. So it's a bit weird, because it was in a. I don't know whether it was on Channel 5, maybe, because I originally only had terrestrial television, until about 2000 until about when Freeview started. So I was stuck with BBC One, BBC Two, whatever regional programming Carlton had on ITV. Then we had Channel 4 and Channel 5, and one thing I do remember about Channel 5 is Milkshake, the section for children's programming, where you had things like Thomas the Tank Engine.
Classic.
Yeah, watching trains go by. Yeah, I could definitely see that there's a correlation as to me liking Thomas the Tank Engine and what I'm into right now.
And you liking trains.
See, now that is actually true. I remember watching that too much. But I still remember watching Tom and Jerry more, which is kind of weird.
I definitely watched Tom and Jerry more than Thomas the Tank Engine, for sure.
I feel like I had a phase where I was like, when I was a kid, I watched, like, when I was like really young, I watched like Tom's Tank Engine, but then Tom and Jerry was like always something I watched.
Yeah. Was it the only thing you watched from Boomerang? Because they did a whole load of cartoons.
I mean, not
certainly
gonna
watched.
lie, I did enjoy Scooby Doo. Anyone?
Yes, me too.
The main dog.
Yeah.
Why did I just type in Scooby Dog? That's not
Scooby
Dog. I mean, sure, he is a dog, but yeah, I remember watching all these things.
With Shaggy. Oh, I love that.
Things though.
Just gonna get loads of nostalgia. Go on, Oz.
Yeah, the thing is though, that Boomerang is. Oh my god, it still runs, still exists.
Does it?
And what's even better,
actually,
on Sky, it's still on 603.
Wow! Oh my god!
But
wow!
Yeah, Boomerang
That brings back memories.
in the UK in 2000 on Sky Digital. I remember like going home from primary school, and it's just like you just sit on this it's like this massive CRT screen, because obviously at the time we had a not so young television, and just watching television programming on that, and it was well into the early 2000s. So oh yeah, with a Sky subscription. Remember the Sky.
Remember your viewing card.
Yes,
Remember your viewing card, guys.
Yes, viewing cards are actually still quite useful today because you use the viewing card to watch Sky. Even when you run out your subscription, it just becomes free sat from Sky, really.
Oh, fair enough.
So it means that you can have the Sky box, the Sky card, but you don't have to. But once you've ordered all that stuff, and then you're saying, okay, I don't want to have all the extras from watching Sky. I just want to have the free stuff. Then you are sorted with free sat from Sky. But I remember before my grandparents moved to free sat from Sky, we had Sky full on. So the things that I remember watching is, of course, I think we had Boomerang, but I'm not 100% sure because it's quite old for me. God, it shows my age. But other than that, one is, as I said again, you've got Channel 5 had Milkshake, so that's where I got most of my children's programming. So as I said, Thomas the Tank Engine. We had Fireman Sam.
I didn't watch it.
I did watch that.
I didn't know it existed.
Bob the Builder before it became CGI.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I watched that a lot more than I did Thomas Tank Engine. Shocking, but
yeah, me too.
Like with a passion, I watched that show.
It just feels weird, like not remembering half the children's television programming that I used to watch.
Really?
Because it's like
I remember all of them.
It's more recent for you than for me.
Yeah, that's true. Considering I watched them until I was about, 9 or 10.
I'm guessing it's because of your sisters.
Yeah, because I have two. Yeah, my youngest sibling is like 4.5 years younger than me, so obviously I couldn't move on to older TV, if you see what I mean. So
guessing it's because you had
proper
the one television.
Yeah, one TV, like like.
God, remember the days when you had one television for the whole family, and not.
I still do, but
Yeah, but you've got your phone, you've got your you've got your computer, you've got
true.
all that stuff. So those are different screens. Back in those days, you had the one TV and sometimes the one.
I know, I was alive.
So
I do remember this.
And it was always some when you had a larger family, you always had some sort of fight between who would get the television, and but yeah. I kind of won most of the time in my house when I was young.
Yeah, I can see that. That doesn't surprise me.
God, just remembering, just graduating eventually from like these children's programming over to CBBC sort of thing, where you had I don't actually. Yes, as I say, remember having like Dick and Dom. That's one thing I definitely remember.
I remember that quite a lot.
I didn't like CBBC. That wasn't my thing. So
I kind of watched CBBC for like 2 years and then
I loved
gave up.
CBBS.
Yeah, you still do.
But whoa.
Look.
But yeah, no, CBBS definitely over CBBC. Because when I was old enough to watch CBBC, I watched Boomerang.
So that explains it.
Yeah.
I think one.
So I watch things like Tom and Jerry, Catch a Pigeon, Wacky Races, the Flintstones.
Hey, the Flintstones.
Yeah, all that stuff, which is way past my time, and the Roadrunner, all those things. which are proper old school cartoons, which I really like.
I mean, personally, I do remember watching all those, like, the shorts, the cartoon shorts, short enough just to perk your memory, but like to perk your attention, but not long enough to drone it out. Because children's television is obviously catered for the child, so short, quick movies storylines.
Yeah.
So it felt like I could keep on watching for hours and hours, and considering didn't I didn't do well in the friendship department in primary school. Television was a very very prominent way of passing the time, because I didn't really have friends to lean on to spend the time with.
Kind of comforting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, I mean, to be honest, I didn't really go around. I think other than one time in year 3, I think, or something. No, year 3 maybe. Other than that, maybe not really any times that I'd gone around to other people's houses, and I hadn't really had anyone around my place till.
This is going very off topic, but
Yeah, till
okay.
Yeah, till till more recently. but yeah.
Mhm.
But overall, it was like, television was like my getaway. It was the time that it was the thing that I could watch to let time pass. Once we got Freeview, however, I started watching other programs, which weren't always necessarily, catered for catered for the child. Like, does anyone remember the Neo? You might or might not remember the TV series The Tube back in 03 or something like that.
Yes, on ITV.
On Carlton. No, it's not on Carlton.
Yeah, yes, on a certain franchised ITV network, but that's a story that's another curse story. But yes, I do remember that TV show.
Yeah, and then watching prominent YouTuber and TV personality Jeff Marshall trying to complete the Tube Challenge.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, that just to think that some characters from some characters, I say some people and television personalities, like, migrate for like 10 years, nearly 20 years. It's a bit staggering. And obviously, I also was into a few sort of like game shows. Just remember watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire for some reason.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm watching
Wow.
the full of age Chris Tarrant hosting the show.
How old were you?
How old was I?
Oh,
It was the early
yeah.
2000s.
My.
Yeah, it was the early 2000s.
Here I am being born, and he's watching How to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah, but it's like I'm.
I mean, to be totally honest, I mean, How to Be
I
Millionaire
don't
was
even watch
actually
it
such a
now.
good channel. Channel show. It was a good show.
Sure.
I mean, it was full of drama, and for one specific show, coughing.
Is it this answer? Yes. But maybe no. Yes, it is.
Yes.
Wow.
We're not. Yeah, and for some reason, there was a very recent TV program based on that specific episode that never made it to air.
Yes.
I haven't watched it yet, but going
Yeah,
back
right,
to
actually.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, to see people just try and answer random questions, for me when I was younger, just got me thinking, like, yeah, this is weird. Why are people answering
So exciting.
questions? Why are people asking questions and then all of a sudden they win pounds? And I always imagine, like, phone a friend, just be very cursed.
Wow.
Yes.
But to think that Chris Tarrant had been on television prior to, like, for me, I thought like Chris Tarrant was like this sort of like a personality that was very associated with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I mean, he is, but to think that he had, he was in there prior to, sorry, in television prior to the run of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, it just feels like, seeing him doing the introduction to the handover from Thames Television to Carlton in '93. I wasn't alive, but I watched the video, and
Mhm.
to see a younger Chris Tarrant just feels alien, if you get what I mean. Like, imagine seeing a
Yes.
younger Chris. Imagine seeing a younger Bruce Forsyth.
Wow. Now he marked my childhood.
Bruce Forsyth. God,
Nice to see you. To see you.
nice.
Thank you. I was really worried that you weren't going to say anything there, and that would have really ruined it.
I know, of course, I know that. I mean, it's like these small snippets of television that we always seem to. That's culturally ingrained in our brains, and even now,
Yeah.
it's nice, but also it's like you can. One thing I do like though about the cultural thing is, like, you could probably shout in a crowd anywhere in the world, and to find a British person, you sing in the following tune: 0800 00.
1066.
Hastings Direct, the insurance company, did a very good job at advertising, using catchy tunes, and advertising in the UK back in the 2000s and late 90s. Pretty good, because these sorts of
It was
things,
great.
yeah, because we can still remember the tunes.
Yeah.
And to think that now these adverts, like for example the Churchill advert that's like closer to now, is
The dog.
the dog.
The
Like,
Churchill dog.
oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. But now now it's a real dog on a skateboard just moving, and I don't get
What?
that. Yeah, I saw that
Yeah,
recently.
Oh,
I saw
that's
that
so
advert.
disappointing.
I saw that advert, but it kind of. I get what they're trying to do with the rebrand, but also I miss the dog going, "Oh yes" to everything about the car
Oh,
insurance.
yes.
Well, I mean, it got to the
That
point
actually
where
sounds
you'd
really
also
weird.
say "oh yes" to the point where the guy who's asking him the questions would always ask something extortionate, like, "Will you be the chauffeur next week?" It's like, "Oh no,
No. But can I still save £175 on my car insurance? Oh,
oh
yes.
yes."
Oh, yes.
And for
Oh,
another insurance company,
sorry, I have another more.
go on.
Okay, go on, go on, go on.
I was gonna go
No,
Direct
you go.
Line.
I was gonna go direct line.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yes,
Unfortunately, after
yes.
2010, I think it was like after 2010 or 2011 when they changed over to the Chris Addison and Alexander Armstrong advert, Direct Line became just another sort of like, oh, it's just another advert. But prior to that, you just hear that tune and you think, yes, Direct Line, and then you'd watch it. And
Which is the one with the fluorescent green car?
Liverpool Victoria, the
No, it goes like dum dee dee dum
yeah, that's
dee
Liverpool
dee
That's
Victoria.
dee
Liverpool
dee dee dee
Victoria.
dee dee.
Yeah,
That's
that's
That
Liverpool
Elwood.
was
Victoria.
everywhere.
Yeah, Liverpool Victoria. I only remember their name because of of that. because Liverpool
I
Victoria
don't even
LV.
remember
Well,
any.
they've changed.
Mhm.
They've shortened their name to LV, but Liverpool Victoria,
Oh, okay.
insurance was like another one of those things that you'd easily forget if it weren't for the advert.
Yeah, and that little tune.
Yeah. Oh god, now I'm just thinking of something earlier than that. We're going on car insurance now, because the next one we're going for
Yeah,
is
look at us.
Sheila's Wheels.
Oh God. Oh
No, I
my.
don't remember this.
No.
No.
The fact that you've remembered that is just.
I have
Oh.
no recollection.
God.
All I'm gonna say is, Minnie, when you get your car insurance, you might see Sheila's Wheels as an option.
Okay.
It's a it's a insurance company that's more in line to the female subset of, you know what I mean.
All I'm going to say is that when I last went
Why?
on my comparison website, a certain one called comparethemeerkat.com,
Yeah.
I actually got recommended them. I didn't choose them, but but the fact that it recommended them to me, just thought, yeah, why?
Compared to
I
Meerkat,
love the meerkat.
yeah, it's like it's a
Simples.
simples, and then you have the squeak.
Simples.
Obviously now it's not the squeak anymore, but they do still sometimes say simples. But the meerkats themselves, they've become so much of an icon for Compare the Market that they've become the icon for it. You have this cult following to some extent, and the fact that, it's why is it always these insurance ads that seem to be very memorable? I mean, those aren't the only ones, but they are certainly very memorable. These, the early 2000s, mid 2000s, even up to late 2000s.
Wait, I have another one.
Gone.
Do you remember Go Compare?
They still
I
around.
mean, everyone does.
The guy with the really curly moustache.
Yes, he is a real
Ah,
he
I
is a
love
real
it.
singer.
Was it her real
The
moustache?
Go Compare singer is Wyn Evans from Carmarthen in Wales.
Wow. Go Compare.
And
Just a great man.
it's something that's so annoying it's memorable.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, going back to these car insurance adverts, they obviously brought out some interesting sort of like things that came with it, like mascots. Yeah, mascots definitely. And memorable tunes. I was about to say with Direct Line, going back to Direct Line for a brief moment. Another one of my friends linked me a video of someone who had actually made a remote controlled vehicle, which is the Direct Line phone.
I love that.
And I think it was released onto a furry convention. Uh, so let's just say
Wow.
people were trying to pick up the phone, and as the little phone tries to drive away, and it's just like these.
I saw that.
Yes.
Okay, I've seen that. That was hilarious.
I mean, I was linked that yesterday, and I just thought to myself, yeah, this is the kind of things you don't have. And another phone that's animated, something that many you might not remember because I don't know if they stopped advertising like '05 or something like that. But there's this loan company called Lombard Direct, and it's this
No.
animated blue phone on the yellow background, and it's like, if you want a loan, you can just go to your bank, and then it was like this subset of like people queuing in a bank, and then the bank being shut, or maybe it's smarter, cheaper, something to call Lombard Direct, and then they'll give you, the advertising for it. But Lombard Direct was another one of the short-lived adverts. And yeah, it's something that I remember personally. But we've moved on from insurance to loans. So now with loans, you also go with the more annoying ones.
Wonga.com.
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 You remember those?
I mean, you remember them for their misleading adverts.
Oh yeah, and the legal action.
Yeah, and yeah, bad.
I also remember them for sponsoring Blackpool FC. Don't know why. It's just like, okay, it's Blackpool Football Club and really, really, really bad loans. I mean, is there any other adverts that you guys sort of like remember in terms of anything?
Calgon. Washing machines with longer with Calgon. Very simple.
Needed that.
No worries. I'm here all day. Seal It Bang. Bang, the dirt is gone. Another classic. I could honestly go on for hours, probably.
I mean,
The
Seal It
product
Bang in
Seal It.
itself is a massive, it's become so much of a icon. Sorry, some sort of like
Hi,
a meme.
I'm Barry Scott.
Hi,
I'm
I'm Barry Scott. Yeah, I was just about to mention the competitor, which is Toilet Grenade and Kitchen Gun.
Oh yes, from the Peter Serafinovich show. Yeah.
Yeah, that TV show is just gold. Not the TV channel, but just comedy gold. Again, still not the TV channel.
I mean, the Peter Serafinovich show came into air in like 2010, so it's a bit past the childhood, but it parodied a lot of things. Oh god, one thing it also parodied is teleshopping, and more specifically the QVC layout. Do you guys remember when, like, during these sort of like the times where, for example, I don't know, Tiny Pop wasn't on air?
Yeah.
You'd have teleshopping, and it's just teleshopping for like 6 hours, not 6 hours, 12 hours, and then it's children's programming, and then teleshopping.
Oh, I don't know. I had Tiny Pop.
Oh god, Tiny Pop. What channel were they? On Sky?
I don't know. I didn't watch much of them. No, because I watched lots of CPBs, not anything else really.
Tiny Pop 617, and then.
Whilst you look at that, anyone for Dora the Explorer?
I mean, that is yes as well.
Oh god, the most misleading Explorer program. It's just like, yeah, I'm going to follow a sentient map and go places, and then somehow all of a sudden a magical thing where if you're polite and persistent with a fox, they may not steal from you. It's weird.
Can I just ask as well?
Mm-hmm.
Dora the Explorer as a concept. I feel like I look back at it now and I think, man, it's the only show where you have to fill in the blanks. I mean, I get what it's going for, but it's like, oh well, we haven't finished the book for you because you've got to write it. That's why there's like 100 blank pages.
But it's like, what? Oh god, watching Dora the Explorer without filling in the blanks, it just makes it just sound like Dora the Explorer is talking to no one, and it's creepy.
I was gonna say, like, if someone said to me, "Hey, do you want to go on an adventure with my talking backpack and a map somewhere?" I would call up Broadmoor Hospital because I don't think they would be clinically sane.
Oh, I love it. I actually think Dora the Explorer is the reason why I do A-level Spanish. I can outsmart Dora now, guys.
Why? Because
I've
you can
made it.
speak nigh on fluent Spanish.
Yeah.
I do. Oh God. You know where it sort of like stops, and then it sort of like turns to the audience.
Mhm.
The audience, the people watching, which is the audience. It just
Yeah.
feels weird. It's like, oh God, it reminds me of another TV show, CBBS, where you had,
Which one?
I think it was like it had the character Mr. Tickle or Mr. Tumble or something like that.
I think it's Mr. Tumble.
Oh, it's Mr. Tumble. Yeah.
I know I didn't watch it. It's before my
Oh,
time.
yeah, it's
but
called Something Special.
I didn't watch it.
And one thing oh God, one thing I
Look,
definitely remember. Look.
you sign.
Yeah, yeah. The guy called Mr. Tumble would always go occasionally. It's like, look, plant, you sign, plant, in a very patronizing
Oh,
way, but always like signing it,
God.
and then eventually, and then obviously because of that, you could make it go.
YouTube poop, like they had a free day with that series. Not gonna lie.
YouTube poop is the easiest way to ruin your childhood. Um, so it would be like
You know what? Go on.
it'd be like you'd turn something like, I don't know, uh something special into a very, very cursed piece of media. And it's like Something Special is the kind of TV program that's like, it emphasizes that, whatever you are and whatever child you are something special, is like that, like to so they sometimes put like disabled kids on it, autistic
Oh,
kids, so it was really sort of like one of those inclusive television programs, and the
that's
idea is you had
cute.
the signing is like to go for the deaf people as well, so it's really, it's like CBeebies is a sort of like television thing channel that had all those inclusive uh inclusive sort of like programming, and then you had CBBC where you had like Tracy Beaker, young Doctor Who, no, not young Doctor Who, Sarah Jane Adventures.
That was a good show.
I never watched it, but it's like I remember
never
it
watched
existing,
it.
and all I thought of was like, is this just budget Doctor Who with transient
See, at that
children?
point, at that point in my life, I'd moved on to like horrible histories.
That was also on CBBC.
That was a good
Yeah.
show though. To be fair,
I loved it. The new ones, I think they've stopped it now, but the newer ones are really not as good.
that's no
And
surprise.
I can still sing some of the songs, which is I could do all the kings and queens of England. I won't
What?
demonstrate that to you now.
Yeah, because we don't want to be
Sorry.
copyright striked.
Sorry, I've just discovered
Because I
something.
sound so
This
much
is
like
slightly
him.
off topic, but you
Go
remember
on.
Maplin?
Maplin?
They're
Yes.
still going as an
Online.
online brand now. What?
Yep. I was about to say.
That's
I'm guessing you're
What?
looking at computer components.
I mean, you're calling me out there, but yes, you are right. Completely.
Yeah, because you only go to Maplin for computer components now. You don't go there for consumer goods. But back onto topic slightly. Televisions. Does anyone remember terrestrial television prior to the Sky, or if you just didn't have Sky, or what's that other thing, Freeview, or if you're cursed, ITV Digital.
Can I just say there's something that should have continued. Teletext needed to live on.
Oh
It was so dumb that every morning while I was watching the news, I would go onto teletext and read the news as well. It's like,
Who are you?
I don't know, but my mind might have been like, I'm not being patronised and having someone read the news to me. I'm going to read the news myself.
Wow.
Talking of morning television, does anyone remember GMTV?
No.
Yes, that show.
Yes, before they made it cursed by rebranding it as Daybreak and ruining it so much that they had to rebrand again 4 years later to make the current Piers Morgan head show.
Good moaning Britain.
No, good Piers Morgan Britain with self makeup for obvious reasons, and sometimes occasionally makes it a little bit too orange. That actually happened.
That's great. I'm sure it did.
But it's like having GMTV to wake you up in the morning. It's like it was decent news. Like, don't get me wrong, it was just also weird to have GMTV. And so, sometimes it was either you watched GMTV or you watched BBC Breakfast. Those were the only two things. And then when Daybreak happened, everyone moved to BBC Breakfast or just stopped watching television. But GMTV was the kind of thing you just wake up and you think, oh look, storms are coming. Hey, and all of these because obviously it's ITV, it's adverts, so it's like, oh, this weather segment is brought to you by PowerGen. That was the first thought. I think it was actually sponsored by PowerGen.
Damn.
We remember these things down the line.
Yeah, and these things stick. And another thing that sticks is just like how cursed ITV was back in the early 2000s. Because it was because I live in London. So in the early 2000s, prior to 2002, and prior to 2002, when ITV became a unified brand, ITV was run by franchises, and the weekday one was completely different to the Friday evening and weekend one. And then on Monday they'll swap over via GMTV. But I remember, watching, ITV, and you just have this really brash, sort of, ident by this company called Carlton Television. Where you just had this, you had the usual. At the time, it was ITV was done with a heart. The Heart's branding was bland and awful, and then Carlton just made it interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. I would actually watch the television idents. I remember post 2002, Channel 2, BBC 2 had the remote control number 2. BBC One always had this sort of like really weird dancer movement sort of thing. I don't remember Channel 4 and I don't remember Channel 5 because those are the three things I remember. ITV One was like after they became just full on ITV, it just became bland, and still is to this day. But yeah, regionalized programming used to be a thing. It still is, but
It kind of is, but it kind of at the same time isn't. I mean, just look at BBC high definition channels. Like every time you watch the news on one of them, when it goes to the local area, it used to just go to a screen that says, "Hey, we can't show this on here yet." And I'm like, "Hey."
I'm surprised they didn't decide, hey, let's put the local idents, the local news programs and stuff in standard definition on the high definition channel. I mean, it would be cursed, but
you would think that they'd do that, but they haven't. And I still, for some reason, I get the London news on the HD channels, which is cursed, but I prefer to watch it in HD.
I'm guessing it's because of the digital stuff.
It is,
And then
yes.
terrestrial-wise,
unfortunately.
you would have been in the central region.
Yeah, that's the one.
I'm now thinking ITV regions, because they're different. ITV and BBC regions are different. But yeah, it is television. It is television.
Yeah, well done.
But God, it makes me sound boring when I just say I definitely remember watching the news constantly. And like anything else, like were there any sort of like another question is were there any sort of like television shows as a child that you would purchase as a VHS or for you mini a DVD?
Thanks.
Hey, I have to make it appropriate because seriously, like I'm in
Yeah.
the VHS era, so what things did you buy? Because I remember buying DVDs of The Simpsons and VHSs of Thomas the Tank Engine. We'll start with Neo. What things did you buy? If you bought anything?
What TV shows?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't actually buy any TV shows as a kid because I had a thing called a VCR, and then another thing called a DVD recorder, which literally meant that I didn't have to do that because you just time shift everything. That's a very controversial thing in this day and age. They're like, no, you can't do that. Recording's illegal. And there's me like,
God, because I remember
no.
like using the VHS recorders to be able to just, you know, if you need to go somewhere, you'd record it, then you'd leave TV on, and you just let it record so you could then watch something back. God, I remember one time I feel like it wasn't me personally, but I remember someone in a family recorded the a Formula One race, and it was back on ITV, so it had
Mhm.
adverts midway through, so it just was cursed. But it's
Yes.
yeah, it's like yeah, Formula One was another thing I watched when I was a child, so it kind of shows that I'm still interested in Formula One to this day.
Formula One's good though.
Oh yeah.
Let's be honest.
I mean, to be fair, I was interested into Formula One just before Michael Schumacher started his like ridiculous run of titles.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, we had Jacques Villeneuve in '99, and then it's just Ferrari again and again and again, and it was like because it was so dominant, it was boring. Because like unlike today, back in those days, you'd have the number one driver being Michael Schumacher, and then the number two driver being out of Rubens Barrichello or Felipe Massa. And it just felt like, there was a clear number one, clear number two, and it just felt boring. Whereas nowadays, when you have the Mercedes dominance, it's like, Hamilton and Bottas are still sort of like more equal. Same as like, Hamilton and Rosberg. But back in those days, you'd literally just watch and hope Ferrari didn't win when I was really young. So I just wanted someone else to win. Like,
Wow.
don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, Michael Schumacher is a brilliant character, and you have to be ruthless to win constantly with a great team, and that's commendable. But obviously, when you're a child, you want someone other than Michael Schumacher. You want someone else to win. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah.
God, when I was a child, I was a weird child. Let's be honest. I didn't really watch that much. The television that I did watch, I didn't watch too much of it. I do remember. Oh, I remember occasionally watching when I had Sky, the Sky box, watching Sky One. when we had the subscription, watching The Simpsons on there, perked my interest in that, and since then I think one Christmas I got like the first 3 seasons of The Simpsons, and then I decided, I don't know, let's just buy the next 18. I don't know why I have it. I have them right now in a bag in my room. I've got the box set, or I have several seasons box sets worth of The Simpsons,
Wow.
and like I could just say, okay, right, what do I want to do? If I really am that bored, what I'll do is I could then, like right now, I could go into that box, get one of the DVDs, put it into my computer, and be like, yeah, let's just watch this. It just feels weird that you know, Sky One, Sky One was weird back in those days as well. Satellite TV was weird, but it was nice. Oh, just remembered of another advert. I mean, this podcast might be a bit jolted today because this is the kind of stuff we're just like, it's coming up in our head right now and right now and right now. Another thing that came into my head just right now is the really controversial adverts for the Ford KA. I think it was the Sport Ford K, where they started beheading pigeons or something like that.
Wow. I haven't seen that, but sounds
I
quite
can't remember
eventful.
that one. You're on your own with that one.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah. What it was is yeah, I can't play it right now. But I did another one with a cat. No, the cat was the one with the beheaded thing. The pigeon was the one where the hood
What?
opened and hit the pigeon. And it was to advertise the Ford Sport KA, the Ford KA's evil twin, as they like to put it. And because it was so controversial at the time, it meant that it was banned, understandably, by Ofcom.
Yeah.
A lovely
The
Ofcom.
only pigeon I know is funkypigeon.com.
That's a lot younger than you think.
Oh Christ!
To think that they're now selling cards. Selling cards in WH Smith is Funky Pigeon. Funky Pigeon is now like, before it was just an online thing. Now it's just pure shops in WH Smith as well. And another online card thing that we might remember, moonpig.com.
Yes. I was about to sing it, but I wasn't sure you were gonna sing that one. So
That's a cursed one.
yes, and
I have
obviously
a friend's dad who actually works for Moonpig.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Your friend's dad works for moonpig.com.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, Neo, I know you and we've sort of like, adapted Moonpig to fit a certain person and their poor ping.
Moonpig.
Mooping.com.
Wow.
I need to buy that domain, honestly.
It's available, I'm guessing.
Oh no.
Is it?
I feel like I should go. I feel like I should go and have a look at this quickly.
You might as well. But yeah, adverts for greeting cards. It just now reminds me of old adverts, maybe for like Clinton cards. Does anyone remember the shop birthdays?
It's actually not available. Someone's got it and they're offering it for $2,200.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. We know who to ask. But back to the television aspect of this. Does anyone remember like the shop adverts? Anyone remember shop adverts? Because
No,
Toys
any
R
spring
Us
to mind for
adverts.
you?
Toys R Us adverts. They had the they'd always like offer like all these like children's toys. Obviously, you'd buy at Toys R Us, and it always came with this catchy tune at the end. It's like, Toys R Us, Toys R Us, Toys R Us.
Oh God, that.
Yeah. Minnie
Why
doesn't
did I
remember Toys
not
R
have
Us.
this advert? No.
I mean, to be fair, Toys R Us sort of lost its meaning later on. And another retailer I do remember is the slightly not flirtatious, what's that word? Suggestive adverts of M&S food. With like
This is
No.
not just.
with a seductive music advertising
This is
like
just.
go
This is not just any sofa. This is the Christmas pudding sofa.
on.
I love that sketch show too much.
But M&S are going for a more it's not the word isn't erotic, it's suggestive. A more suggestive tone for their food is like when you look back at it's just weird. But now, of course, it's just like it's funny at the same time. But because obviously because food was being advertised like that, it meant that you'd have you'd remember those adverts. Oh, now I'm just remembering Sainsbury's with Jamie Oliver.
No recollection there
Minnie, you're too young for that.
either.
You are actually too young for that. That's the weird thing.
I know.
I mean, do you remember any food or
No, none at all.
yeah, fair enough. I mean, the compared to the insurance and the insurance
Yeah, it
adverts,
really was car insurance and cards.
and also sometimes it's cleaning products.
Yes.
Obviously, do you guys remember the Felix cat advertising the cat food Felix? It's always like
Yes.
yes,
Yes, yes, yes,
the
yes,
cat
yes.
just going into mischievous things. It's just
Mm-hmm.
it's just like it's cheeky but
It's
interesting.
great.
Yeah, and it I don't know why, but because of like Felix the cat, and then that Felix the cat food, like it just inspires like a load of people to name their cats Felix.
Oh god. Right. Do you know anyone with a cat called Felix?
No, but I do remember someone who'd used.
Very inspiring, man.
And I don't know anyone at the moment, like at the moment, but I know people who named Felix, who adopted the Felix the cat sort of moniker for their name online and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a later advert that we might remember that might not be part of our childhood, to be fair, is Cadbury's.
No.
The gorilla doing the
No.
drums.
No.
I can feel it.
Sorry, you're on your own. Sounds very entertaining.
Oh yeah, it was. Another one that Cadbury's used to do was the face. It was like these two children. They're just sitting, doing nothing, and then the eyebrows start moving constantly to the beat, and it's just like it's surreal, and these things were so associated with Cadbury's to the point where the features of them are now currently in Cadbury's World in Birmingham. And it just feels weird that this sort of thing has sort of like culturally, no, adverts these days have culturally sort of like kept on, and we remember this stuff.
Yeah.
I'll ask you, Minnie. Oh yeah, back to the thing we were actually talking about. Minnie, were there any things that you, as a child, any like DVDs that you guys bought as a family for your children's entertainment needs?
No, because we just used to just watch whatever was on. Like, so, and we also knew what time things played. So we're a family who really revolves around routine. And Dora the Explorer was part of the routine.
Aww.
And we would just go on. It wasn't just Dora the Explorer, In the Night Garden, Peppa Pig. Like, all these things were like worked into the routine. So we never bought anything. And as soon as recording on the Skybox was a thing, then we used that. To be honest, we didn't really use it like as children, but my parents used it for stuff they wanted to watch.
God,
But yeah,
Scott,
I
you had
also used it for like Strictly Come Dancing and stuff like
Strictly
that
Come
was way
Dancing.
past our bedtime.
Aww. You used to watch
Because you
Strictly
have to
Come Dancing
remember,
on tape delay.
I still do. Yes, but because you have to remember that at the time I wasn't in the UK. I know I had
Oh,
UK TV, but I was an hour ahead of you. So when Strictly ends at 11 o'clock at night, your 4-year-old shouldn't be awake.
oh yeah.
So, yeah, but yeah.
Back to just because we got now another 3 or 4 minutes left in the podcast. I was saying, is there
Cool.
any other sort of like television programs that you remember watching that we haven't mentioned yet so far, Minnie? I mean, you've got plenty, but like any like one or two things you've got to.
Okay. Okay, one that's really been quite meaningful recently is Lazy Town. Because, as you know, one of the actors in it recently died, not due to the viruses before this. And so, yeah, I listened again to the soundtrack, and wow, brought back a lot of memories. So that was, good, a nice one.
We are number one.
We are number 1. Also, I'd have to say Bagpuss kind of made. I could do something.
It's a good show. Let's be fair.
I mean, I always find it
Oh
interesting though
yeah.
that Lazy Town had a load of Icelandic actors for some reason. Oh, mainly
Oh,
because it is actually Icelandic. That's the weird thing.
I didn't know. I
Yeah,
just love how it's called Lazy Town and all the people in it are super energetic.
I mean you'd have to be.
I don't remember anyone being lazy in Lazy Town.
No, Robbie Rotten was.
Just saying.
Robbie
Not
Rotten's
really.
lazy.
It was
Not
created
really.
by
He's
Magnus
building.
Shaving, who plays the character Sporticus.
I just had something.
Anyone else for Bagpuss though? Whilst we're
I
at it.
remember Bagpuss for it being a cat as a. I nearly said a cat as a bag. No, um,
No.
it's like just the ominous thing, and it was so ominous because I remember that being showed on Milkshake as well, on Channel 5.
But okay, that is one thing I did have on disc. Was Bagpuss. I didn't actually know it went on TV.
Yeah, Bagpuss was on TV. It was it was on Milkshake, I think. But like early days Milkshake. Like when I say early days Milkshake, because it makes me sound really old. Like post post sort of like post late 90s, early 2000s sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So you would have watched it as well as much as I would. So it is. I
So I
don't.
watched it on CD.
A um.
So no ads. Could choose which episode you wanted to watch.
You really think there were ads there?
But they're not. I don't know.
No.
I honestly have no idea.
I think another.
But I did
Go.
Oh, I was gonna say I did actually rewatch Bagpuss last year just for nostalgia, and wow, it's kind of creepy.
I mean, of course it's.
The mice are very high pitched. High pitched. They have very high pitched voices, and yeah,
The title character was a saggy old cloth cat, baggy and a bit loose at the
yep.
seams.
Mhm.
To think. Oh, wait, what? There were only 13 episodes of Bagpuss.
Yeah. Not
What?
many.
God, that feels weird.
But they're quite long.
Yeah. I think another. Yeah, I'd say one thing I remember back was like I always seem to associate with like other sort of like 70s children's um television series like the Clangers. It's like these small mice.
Clangers.
The Clangers.
Clangers. Don't remember.
Yeah, it's like these
Before
small
my
mice
time.
that were like I mean technically it is before my time as well. Because you know they were viewing these like 70s 60s to 70s sort of like
Mhm.
children's television programs well into the 2000s, and
I was on the wrong channel.
again I think it was on channel 5. I think I'm not 100% sure. It might have been on. I might have watched it on VHS. Notice I said VHS and not DVD.
Yeah, well, fight me.
I mean, to be fair, Clangers and Bagpuss were made by the same company. So
Wow. I was gonna say I recognise the mouse, but probably from Bagpuss.
yeah,
Looks very similar.
they only eat green soup supplied by the soup dragon and blue string pudding. Bloody hell. It is, just makes me feel old.
Oh,
Um,
you know what I think is a good one to end on?
Gone.
Teletubbies.
Hey! Teletubbies! I was about to, yeah. Teletubbies. Neo, do you remember Teletubbies?
Oh yeah.
Yes, Teletubbies.
or
Where?
or a nostalgic one, Balamori.
I think we'll go with Teletubbies.
Okay, I remember that.
I remember Balamori because the houses are real and the people are weird.
Yeah.
And the police officer is incompetent. I mean, of course,
I
it has to be in order to have adventures.
yeah. I think those are the best ones on my list.
I mean, I definitely I'll talk about Teletubbies because like it was made with people inside the costumes. So like I'd always thought like now,
Really?
yeah, it still is.
Oh,
And the people inside the
that's really
costumes
disappointing.
they genuinely sweat it out. It's really hard for them to it's really hard for them to sort of like perform for for longer than a scene because they're so heavy, these costumes.
Yeah, they look heavy.
Yeah, the original run was from 97 to 01. And, you'd have your obvious Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Lala, and Poe. The
Yes.
God, I feel sorry for the yeah. What? It's just like I genuinely feel sorry for those actors who did it. And then obviously you had the supporting characters like the Sun Baby.
The sun.
The Sun is a baby, and now the baby is now a adult.
A mother. I'm pretty sure the baby had a baby.
I don't know if the baby had the baby.
Yeah, I think recently the baby had a baby, like maybe 2, 3 years ago.
It says that she was 9 months
You
old.
can Google that one.
It's under a subscribable. Thanks, Telegraph. And the other thing that they had obviously is Nunu, the sentient vacuum cleaner.
Mhm.
The one thing that you didn't remember until I showed you a photo of it.
Yeah, it wasn't memorable.
He occasionally misbehaves and sucks anything up from tubby toaster blankets, which prompts the Teletubbies to call him Naughty Nunu and give chase.
Well, exciting.
This is the weirdest thing now. You know the fact that the revival means that the Teletubbies are about 23 years old. 23 years old.
Are they animated yet? I think they might be.
I don't know, but they have baby Teletubbies. The Tiddlytubbies exist. Their names are Mimi, Dada, Bar, Ping, Ruru, Paul, Drag Race, Nin, Duggledy, and Bumby Bumby.
RuPaul. Wait, how many of them are there? 7?
Yeah, the fact that the Teletubbies now have children.
They're multiplying.
Oh yeah, did you?
Wow.
I'm looking.
Okay.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia article right now. Did you know that Poe is slated by the show's creators to be Cantonese?
Really?
Seriously.
Really?
I mean,
That's something that I don't believe, but I could see it happening.
what's even better is that the person who played Poe is of Hong Kong Chinese ancestry.
Wow.
So.
Oh, I just found all the children.
You found all the children. Great.
The Teletubbies children. What? This is so concerning.
Yeah, that's the thing now.
Yeah, wow.
I don't understand it, but I've noticed these children's television programming are being revived by using animation, and it's sort of like it takes away yes, of course it's cheaper to animate it rather than actually use the actual props, but to animate series like Fireman Sam makes it look cursed. Animating Thomas just makes it look really cursed. Like, I understand animating the faces because you're restricted by several faces, but to animate the trains and for it to be all animated now, it just it detaches itself from the Of course, it's cheaper to do, but it detaches itself from the original. It detaches itself from the roots of the show and what what you'd associate with it. Yeah, like if you want to make a new animated television program, go ahead. It is or you can make In the Night Garden. Because seriously, to me, In the Night Garden is really new. It's this sounds wrong, but it is new to me.
It's really old. It's 17 years old, maybe 18.
The original release was in 2007. It's 13 years old.
Wow. I thought it was older than it was.
Minnie, it's 13 years old. No wonder I think it's young.
I don't know what I think it's old.
Tots TV. Brum.
Brum is just,
I still
I want to
find
say cursed.
it is cursed. It's even better is that Brum is set in Birmingham. Where is it filmed? Liverpool.
Great.
Oh God.
So, do you have any more TV shows? Anything you wanna comment on before we wrap things up?
Rosie and Jim.
Oz?
Oh, God. I'm looking through and I just see Rosie and Jim, Brum. You know, these so many television programs that you could go on and on and on. There's so much variety. Come outside. The one where you had that woman on the plane. Where you take a plane to a garden center.
Sounds a bit extreme. Neovos, do you have any TV shows that you wanna talk about? Put out there?
Not really.
No.
I was gonna mention Big Cook, Little Cook, just because of how cursed
It
is.
is cursed because
in the world.
it's micro. It's bloody micro. What it is, it's like I don't like. It's like cheesy cooking program made with a really average sized person, and then a small man on green screen. And it's just like, what? I never understood the concept of Big Cook, Little Cook.
There wasn't one.
Ben is a full-size adult, but Small is only a few inches tall. Somewhat ironic, as his actor is the taller of the two.
Nice.
And it is food custom Princess Pie. They made Princess Pie. Flutter by Cakes, Pizza Shield, Fishy on a Dishy, Farmyard Smoothies, Moon Rocks, Veggie Sandcastles. Like, these sort of like themed foods, you just don't get that now. It's just weird. But yeah, I'd say that, you know, children's television back in the early 2000s and mid 2000s was very interesting. But we definitely remember
Definitely.
the advertising as well, and sometimes even ITV being weird. And on that note, I give thanks to Neo.
Thank you for having me again.
And continue watching Carlton television.
No, let's not.
Yes, you will. You'll get the, or otherwise you'll get the branding.
Oh, God.
Branding iron. We give thanks to our co-host Minnie.
Thanks for
You're
having me.
still somehow taller than Small, from Big Cook Little Cook. Only by like 2 inches.
Yeah. I'm going strong. And thank you for hosting it.
No worries. And we thank you guys for watching. And we bid you guys a good night.